Well, we started with Bill Belichick not being a travel agent. We ended with ginger ale. Let's move to the player that Belichick was talking about, or as the case may be for him, not talking about.
I'm not a travel agent.
Hopkins visited with the Titans. Sources, visit went well, and the Titans, extended an offer. Well, of course they extended an offer. What did they do? They brought him in for a visit to say no thank you. They've done their homework. Barring the guy showing up and pissing everyone off, they were going to give him an offer. And again, we said last week, this is possibly about his agent just starting the lawnmower.
Yeah.
Sitting around waiting, wasn't getting the offer that DeAndre Hopkins wanted. You got to pack a bag, you got to hop a plane, and you got to go from team to team, and you got to let these teams see you and maybe hope that somebody gets a little antsy, a little excited. We got to get this guy. He's going to sign with somebody else. So Titans meet with him. They make an offer. He's going to go to New England, and I'm sure they'll make an offer. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, will he get something better? And we talked about this yesterday. Yeah. How do you balance whatever a non-high-end contender would offer versus what Chiefs-Bills eventually would offer? Because clearly Chiefs-Bills are interested because they're the two teams that reportedly were talking to the Cardinals about a trade that never happened. I'm assuming, I haven't heard the Bills have closed the door. All I've heard is the Bills are dug in on whatever they're going to offer because they add a tight end in the first round of the draft, Dalton Kincaid, who becomes pass-catching option that maybe Hopkins would be.
Very similar.
So they have less of an urgency than they would have had before the draft.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Exactly right. And there's probably, like you said, a price point that the Chiefs and the Bills are looking at to go, we're not going to go over. We're not that desperate for you. We still are really good, and they're going to make sure it works that way. I'm with you, Mike, in that thought that like you had that last week. Maybe that was the Tennessee rumor, was something to kind of get things jump-started, right? Get some interest from people, get the agent, in good terms with his player. Look, hey, we got this going. But also I think as time goes and just talking to a few people and digesting the situation, I think it's real. It might have started that way, but the thing that just comes back to me more times than not here is just the two teams we're talking about in the Titans and Patriots. They're desperate. They're desperate. There's a real need here. There is, and that's where Hopkins, and I think it could be intriguing to him, right? Where it's not the Chiefs or the Bills. It's a little risky. You might not set yourself up for an air show, and you're going to get 80 or 90 catches, but you might get 80 or 90 catches because you are the only option, or you're by far the best option on either one of those football teams too, right? So that's where the rubber meets the road here with DeAndre Hopkins. Is he goes to the Titans, he goes to the Patriots. He's the number one guy. He's the guy that they're going to formulate plays around. He's going to get yards and receptions and things to set himself up for maybe another payday. And that's where I think it could be a real positive for him, even though it's not a team that, is in the Super Bowl contention conversation as we sit here right now.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes from Tennessee to New England, and he's got time. At this point, the offseason programs are all ending. It's not like he's going to sign with somebody and show up for the last day of mandatory minicamp. This is about laying the foundation for the start of training camp. It's a deadline-driven business. The deadline is the launch of camp. So he's got some time to make the rounds and make his best decision, whatever his decision may be, whatever his options ultimately may be.
Let me ask you this, Mike, just, we'll play the game a little bit, right? Like, would you rather go to Buffalo and maybe only catch 55, 60 balls, something like that, right? Have a winning record, be in the playoffs? Or would you rather go to the Patriots? Yeah, maybe not a for sure thing to go to the playoffs, but we know they're a playoff caliber team. But yet now you're like the guy where, now you're getting like 95 receptions, right? And maybe the same scenario for Tennessee, right? How would you balance that out? What would be more important to you? Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons that it's important to have a good agent, because at a certain point, the football player whose expertise is playing football says to the agent, what is your plan?
Yeah,
what is your vision? What do you recommend? Because there's different ways to look at it. I could go to Buffalo and I could pursue a championship.
Yep.
And I could be playing in January.
Right.
Deep into January and into February, and all these other teams are home making their notes about
right.
who they're going to pursue when free agency rolls around.
There's
so that could
value
be good
in that.
for me.
Yeah, there's value. You're right.
Or I could go to New England and I could become full-blown Stepford Patriot, and I could push back on any of this chatter that's out there that I'm not a practice guy, that I'm not a good locker room guy. I go to New England, I get the Bill Belichick seal of approval. Maybe that propels me into next year. Is it a multi-year deal that I want?
Yes, right. The money plays.
Guaranteed money?
Right.
Or do I want a one-year deal with a shot at the open market next year? There's a lot of different factors
that need
to be analytically assessed and laid out. And the player, and this is, I think, true of any relationship where you've got the person who is the one supplying the thing that is attractive to someone else, and then the person who's the conduit and also, to a certain extent, the architect of what the best approach is. Because at some point, the player has to say, okay, thanks, these are all my options. What should I do? What should I do? I trust you. You've been here. You've done that. What should I do? What's your recommendation as to how I should handle this? And that's why it's important to hire an agent that you trust, that has experience, and that is able to eventually give advice to the player that agent would give to the agent's son, nephew, friend, cousin, anyone that person has a relationship with and cares about. That's the kind of advice you want to get. And sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes the agent, won't have a recommendation. But I know I was practicing law. I would lay out the options for a client, and eventually the clients that were the easiest clients for me to deal with would say, what would you do?
Right.
And you give them an assessment. I mean, if push comes to shove, this is what I would do. So the agent's going to have a big say in, I think, the recommendation. Whether or not Hopkins takes it, that's up to him. But why do you have an agent if you're not going to take the recommendation?
Yeah.
So there's different ways it can go. It all comes down to what he wants. You made this point yesterday. We don't know how much money he has saved.
Right.
We don't know what his financial representatives have told him he needs to walk away from the game with. That's going to be part of it too.
Exactly.
Is he trying to maximize money? Is he playing for his legacy? Is he playing for a ring? What does he want to do? Where does he want to live? Who does he want to be around? Does he want to be around Bill O'Brien again? Maybe he does. Does he want to be around Mike Vrabel again? Maybe he does. Maybe he values that. A lot of the recommendations are shaped by knowing what the client is looking for.
Yeah, no question. You're right about that. I think it's interesting. I think the money, of course, has to be a big factor in it, and to the Tennessee, the Patriots, the Titans, Patriots, how much more are they offering than the Chiefs or the Bills, or where is that line that you're, like we talked about yesterday, that you're willing to go, okay, I'll take this to play for the Chiefs or Bills and be in the playoff game like you're talking about, and what's that number that goes, okay, it's a little riskier here, but the money, I can't say no to this, and I got to go to Tennessee or New England. That's going to be the tough part for the player. And the player, you lean on the agent, especially on the business side. What makes most sense business? And then, it's on the player to, yes, lean on the agent still more for some advice about, hey, how do you feel? Do you think, talking to that team, did you feel like they really want me and all that? But the player at the end of the day, too, has to come down to go, wait, like you said, where do I want to live? I'm the guy that knows receiver talent here. Which one makes the most sense for me? The offense, all of that, right? And I think that's probably some of the things he's going to toy with here. But it doesn't seem like anything's like imminent right now, right, Mike? As far as like going to happen at this moment, but I would think somewhere right before training camp, something like that. This is when somebody makes a move to get DeAndre Hopkins.
No land rush for him, no land rush for Dalvin Cook, or they'd already be under contract. As we've said time and again, the teams know this routine, and they know when there's a veteran who lands on the market who possibly has an idea as to what he's worth that far exceeds what anyone is willing to pay. And step one in a situation like that is step back and let the player work through whatever he's got to work through, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I'm not going to get what I want. Now the question is, can I get what I need? And what is my objective? Is it business? Is it I want to enjoy myself? I got 1 year left, maybe 2. I want to have fun. I want to go somewhere where I have fun, where I'm around people I want to be around, where I'm playing with people I want to play with, where I am playing with a quarterback I want to play with. I want to play with Patrick Mahomes. I want to play with Josh Allen. I don't want to play with Ryan Tannehill, all due respect. I don't want to play with Michael McCorkle-Jones, all due respect. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.